We certainly need a lot more thought leadership than the world's politicians are providing. We need someone smarter, faster, harder, and more affirmative than anything that's ever come before, and both sort of softly spoken and carrying a very big stick. We need a pathway. Now, believe it or not, I've kind of developed a rough pathway, and it's going to take some leap of faith to believe that someone as little as myself, who's technically disabled, could actually come up with something. But I've got this notion. I call it the Regency Challenge, a military academy-esque style 1 year program of discipline, schooling in relevant tech-forward training, such as cryptographic technologies, cryptocurrency, blockchain systems, and AI deployments and utilization. And then we put them through 1 week of, 6 weeks of boot camp, a couple of weeks of education, put them through all 33, 1 week per division, all 33 divisions of Neo Roosevelt Group, standard boilerplate structure for its subsidiary entities. Neo Roosevelt Group entity will have 33 divisions, not just finance, management, information technology, etc. But then after graduation from this academy, they then have optional enrollment. Enlistment in the Roosevelt Corps. And notice that doesn't start with TRC, it's like Triumvariate Council. Anyway, the Roosevelt Corps is a public military-esque style of organisation. People make a 5-year commitment to work to serve the organisation on a part-time, after-work basis. That's like 20 hours commitment per week, doing things that are civic benefit type activities broadly, and also promoting the engine, so online social media posting, etc., like campaign building. Then after 5 years of service, they're honourably discharged. Any honourable discharges become eligible for citizenship in the Roosevelt Network Nation State, and the Roosevelt Network Nation State provides annual dividend distributions, or quarterly or whatever, to its citizens, funded via an endowment fund, Roosevelt.global, structured as decentralized autonomous organisation, and the seed funding for that comes from my contribution of my indirect equity positions in Neo Roosevelt Group subsidiary venture vehicle entities. So we take UCGeniX / Project Abraham, something that has $60 trillion worth of economic value creation possibility. Now that might sound fantastical, but a lot of that 60 trillion would get allocated to big corporations like BHP, Rio Tinto, Santos, and then the Queensland government would take royalties. The Queensland state would take royalties, and some probably contribution would end up in the Australia Fund. The Americans would take a large chunk of that economic value because of a pipeline connection from Bowen Basin through to West Texas. That's a $30 to $40 billion pipeline, and it would be an engineering world first if we can pull it together. Project Abraham involves a 20-year build-out. So there's $60 trillion 20 years from now, with only a small fraction being owned by Neo Roosevelt Group at the end of things. But anyway, I've got like 20 of these venture vehicles planned. I only mentioned the biggest one because you may as well start with the biggest. Anyway, these venture vehicle entities, I've been calculated it out in working with my human / AI duo partnership work combo, that I only get to spend 0.8% of the value that I'm likely to create if I have a full level success with what I'm trying to accomplish. So I get to keep 0.8%. I only allowed to spend 0.8%, right? So it comes out to like I'm allowed to spend $250 million over the course of my life, which is plenty. And if I spend anything much more than that, then I risk losing alignment with what I'm saying, which is I'm not doing things for my own personal benefit, like $250 million worth of benefit versus having to live on the streets and eating lizards. I'd be pretty happy with that. But the capital in these vehicles, the entities, gifted to Roosevelt Global DAO, which then uses its endowment fund structured, so it only ever spends some of the annual earnings or the interest or whatever that it's getting, so it receives dividends from these venture vehicles. It keeps some of the dividends and adds and reinvests it back into its own investment pool, and then it distributes a portion of what it receives annually as dividends to the citizens of the network nation state. And any which way, the whole idea is to give humans something useful to do in the teachings broadly, or schooling broadly of a military style institution, and military service being something that way predates capitalism and will survive capitalism if it's structured properly. The alternative, right, Bill, is AI automation kills 40% of the workforce by 2035, and it kills up to 70% of the workforce by 2040, up to 90% of the workforce by 2045, nearly 100% of the workforce by 2050, right? And people talk about universal basic income. Now, that's a distribution from someone. It's probably not going to be the government because they're not going to have the money. It's a distribution from someone of a standard monthly allowance to live off. The thing is, what do you do when you're just getting the same money as everyone else? It sounds a bit like communism, and you've got nothing to do. But what a TV show is going to be about? New TV show about everybody doing nothing, and then what do you write a book about when no one does anything? Everything will just be stories about the olden days when people used to do stuff. Even prostitution would lose its. Would still be prostitution? It probably would. But other than that, like, I can't think of any profession that people like. We're going to end up with everything getting sucked into a figurative black hole, even creativity or imagination, and we can't have that. So anyway, that model that's come up with
Satoshi,
the governance platform,
supporting
right?
Neo Roosevelt
aren't going to
Satoshi, the syndicate,
coming forward. We'll
the
have
anonymous
governments
supporters,
empowered by AI.
mysterious
The
Monero
government
in my
sector
wallet,
is slow to adopt technology.
who've never touched their own Satoshi wallet,
with crypto
$80 billion
and blockchain.
in it.
You've only got some governments around the
It
world
just might be.
starting to
That means
think
I'm
that
doing the
they'll
right
use
thing. Boom.
digital central bank coins. So they're more than 10 years behind the technology curve. And with AI, if you're 10 years behind the technology curve, you're light years behind. But at some point, governments who utilize AI will be more powerful than governments who don't. And then there'll be, so that's during the phase where human paired with AI is still more productive and efficient and capable than AI by itself. But then we'll get to a stage in the technology where AI itself, without the humans, is more powerful than an AI-human paired combo, being that the human is a disabling factor, or the human holds the AI back. So at this point, then the first government to implement an AI-only leadership platform becomes the most efficient, advantaged government. And then anyway, I workshop this with Doug, right? And Doug Lewis-Ledby, he's a polymath like myself, an autodidact, whatever the pronunciation is. And I proposed to him, it was a thought experiment, what if we had three siloed AI, one modeled after like a reinvention or reincarnation digitally of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, one Theodore Roosevelt, and one Eleanor Roosevelt. And so you've got Theodore, being the bold, adventurous, strenuous life, preaching creator, builder, and preservationist. He cared a lot about preserving nature. And then you've got Franklin being the economic reformer, the new systems innovator, and experimenter. Then you've got Eleanor, who cares primarily about dignity, preservation of the human life, and protecting the least of us, first and foremost. Much in the way Jesus in the book of Matthew says that which those who treat the least of these my brethren treat them so as yeah, but any which way, the three siloed AIs are the ultimate authority that everybody, it's the ultimate quarter. If you imagine the United, they get to start with a veto override on the Security Council. That's their first utilization, right? Veto override on the Security Council. So anyway, then eventually we hand over full control to them. And I've got this predicted model of how society evolved from 2045 onwards under the stewardship of the Triumvariate Roosevelt Council. And it works out pretty well. The evolution, technologically and humanity-wise, is actually greater and more fantastical than any published work of science fiction. But I've got a basic model of this already mock coded, and I've got to engage a programmer, and we're going to release it for sitting on university boards and progressive corporate boards, and also government department boards. So if you can imagine, there's a virtual board member being the Roosevelt trio, and at any point during the meeting, they might interject, or they can be asked questions, and they also know everything about the company, like the entire human resources database, the entire customer relations database, the entire financial management database, everything. The database model incorporates all of this company information, and then they learn every meeting, and they're using they've got full audio and full multi-camera 4K capture of the meeting as it happens. So they're analysing all of the directors and all of their contributions and all of their face expressions and all the things they say as well as they don't say, to evaluate all of the director's performance, to work out who's contributing value, who's holding the company back, and they're suggesting also initiatives that the company could embark upon or invest itself in to better itself and to better achieve its outcomes and better align with the stated company objectives. Now, this governance tool should be made available next year sometime, and we're seeking to maybe get 5 universities, big ones, to have it installed or to beta trial it. And if we get some big university names and it works out that it functions well, then I expect progressive corporate boards to be interested. It's a very useful tool, and it helps add value to a company and also sorts out the wheat from the chaff for your board members, then shareholders will demand it. And anyway, even the most conservative model comes up with the current present-day valuation, fully discounted back, of more than $10 billion for this thing, and that's not a lot of money relative to something like I was talking about before. But I've got, as I said, like 20 of these things easy, and they're all designed to sort of combine. They weren't designed They're like, even I didn't design them, Bill. They just pop into my head, fully formed, but they all seem to add to this virtuous circle of where they all add value to one another. And anyway, this Roosevelt Corps, the TRC2, that's the idea is that we have employees that are primarily, or personnel that are primarily loyal to it, and we swap them around as most advantageous positions slotted into the different venture vehicle entities, sort of harmonizing and adding maximum value and impact across the broad collaborative Neo Roosevelt Group portfolio platform. Any which way, nothing like this has ever been contemplated
It was meant to get patches
done
made up
before, and so if I pull it off, then it will be a beyond must level achievement. But I mean, I've got some significant
don't you want the shopping bag that goes inside it?
holdback or things holding me back.
Wouldn't you like the shopping
like
bag
this
that goes
bloody
inside
article in the Chronicle, which paints me as a lunatic. But I mean, overcoming these things is also going to be glorious, because I will crack through eventually, or crash through. So I don't stop. I barely sleep. All I do is work, and I keep pushing. And eventually, if you keep pushing, then you will get somewhere, I think. And when I say I think, I mean, I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure I'm doing the right thing. I know my heart's in the right place, or at least like it better be. So I've worked and prayed, you know. But but anyway, does that strike a chord, or am I sounding? Did I talk too fast, or it's just sounding like crazy nonsense? Oh no! Oh, are you confused? Yeah. Yeah. But I'm not allergic.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's eggs in like over there in the cup, and the toast is probably cold.
Yeah,
What kind of house? Yep.
We're gonna buy some.
Eggs on toast for lunch.
Yeah, well, if I can't pull it off in the city of Toowoomba, which is the most forgiving, lovely, charming place, the threads of the community are characterized by kindness, humility, charity, Christianity, and conservatism. And the whole story of Toowoomba, what was his name, Broom, the convicted convict who reoffended after his served his time, then was done again, became a convict again in New South Wales, then travelled up to Toowoomba, reformed himself, became a good man, became a respected member of the community, became the mayor, became a state and then a federal member, and then they named the federal electorate after him. And there's another area called Groomsville, or Groomsville, down towards the Gold Coast as well. So I don't know his full story, but I mean the whole, if you can't redeem yourself and gain acceptance and some sort of position of authority in Toowoomba, of all places, I don't know where else I'm going to pull it off, Bill. Like, I knew this when I moved here. Yeah.
My butt.
Yeah, your butt.
Not there.
Well, I can't tell everybody all of it, because it's like it's yeah.
I'll fix it.
Yeah.
Fix that shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Could be more than 500 pages. Yeah. Well, it's not easy for me, Bill. Like, I don't have a great time with it. It's not like it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Driving. Well, I just wanted to go around and bug out Doug because, like, I've needed his help all week, and he came around and was helpful. But he takes him only half an hour to absorb and process, like, pretty much any concept. But then getting. I need help from my director of operations, Douglas Lewis Letby, and so I need to get to his place and a couple other errands to run. I think that I don't think there's anything super priority, but like I need do I get Ubers? Do I hobble around with no help, or do you send me some help?